When did the class clown take it too far? Junior year in high school in Algebra 2, the teacher was kind of a douche, so this one guy, let's call him Mike, would give him a hard time. This was a regular thing, and Mike would get kicked out of class for saying and doing some inappropriate stuff, but we all thought it was hilarious. One day, our teacher didn't show up to class. Word got around that his oldest son had died of a drug overdose and he had to take some personal time off. He didn't show back up until a week later and he looked really sullen and down. During class, Mike pulled out a can of Coca-Cola and started sipping it nonchalantly. Teacher had a strict no eating or drinking in class policy and Mike was aware of this. He told Mike to throw it away and step outside. Mike, the absolute effing savage, says, "Look, I know you don't like Coke, but I'm sure your son did." Nobody laughed. Just silence. Some people didn't get it. The ones who did were just too shocked to say anything like me. Mike threw his drink away and walked out of the classroom while the teacher just sort of haphazardly continued his lesson, although we could tell Mike's comment effed him up. What instantly makes a girl hot? Sounds like a fake answer, but really showing genuine interest is just about the hottest thing you can do. We want to feel wanted. I started dating a girl who would dress in fancy clothes and seemed a little uptight. When I took her home one night, her dad met up with us with their golden retriever. The dog got really happy and started bouncing and it got dirt all over the girl's fancy clothes. The girl just laughed and started playing with the dog. That made her very attractive. Just being herself and not caring about little stuff. A good attitude. I can't count how many women on first look I think are not attractive at all, but when I hang out with them I'm incredibly attracted to them. So yeah, that's the winner for me. A good attitude. A sense of humor. I used to be a waiter and I was serving a girl and her mom. This girl was kind of pretty but not really my type. By the end of me waiting on her, from all her jokes and everything, I thought she was insanely attractive. Then she mentioned her boyfriend. What is the worst response to "I am pregnant"? Someone in my friend group got pregnant a few years ago with a casual hookup. She kept trying to text him to let him know. They didn't really hang out on a regular basis, but he wouldn't get back to her. Finally she texted him with a "Hey, we really need to talk. I'm pregnant," and he responded back with "This is his mother. He died last week. Don't text this number anymore. It's too painful." But then she saw him a week later at the mall. What is an obvious sign of depression but people ignore it unknowingly. When I was at the first appointment with my former therapist, she started with the dreaded, "So, what brings you in here?" question. My answer was a discombobulated jumble of vague statements, one thought half finished before leading to the next. I could barely keep eye contact because of the shame, so I was talking mostly to my knees. Finally I broke for a moment to try to gather my thoughts, and my therapist hit me with this: "Do you sit down in the shower?" She may as well have blown an air horn. I don't remember how long I stared at her like she's some demon before answering in the affirmative. I remember she looked a little satisfied, like she was glad she'd gotten that one right, before her expression disappeared. It wasn't something that pinged my radar because I'd loved long, hot showers my whole life, but sitting during the shower was a relatively recent development at the time, and I only started because I wanted to stay in the shower with the hot, noisy water pounding on my head until it got cold. And standing was too much effort. Still, her educated guess both shook me and made me feel seen, in a way my previous therapist never accomplished. There's one rule that was implemented at your school or work that backfired horribly. My high school was trying to prevent a senior prank since the class before us had got a little out of hand. They basically told us not to have one, that they would get anyone who did anything in a lot of trouble, yada yada. So somebody has an idea: what if we do an anti-prank? The idea had floated around the halls and everyone knew what we were going to do. For an entire week, every senior was going to bring a potentially threatening item for a senior prank, and do nothing with it. The week starts and that Monday, nearly the entire senior class carries a banana with them to every class. This is a school of about 2,600 student, 650 graduating class, so there are hundreds of bananas being carried through the halls. Teachers and assistant principals freaking out. By noon, an announcement was made that all bananas needed to be eaten or thrown away or they would be confiscated. So by that afternoon, every banana was taken away from the student. The next day got even better. Somebody has the idea that we should all bring a gallon jug of water with us to class. And to no one's surprise, again there is an announcement that they are going to start taking up the water jugs for fear of what we are going to do with them. But this time, the students got creative. People are resentful now and not wanting to give up their precious water. Students are getting creative, hiding them in backpacks, avoiding teachers in the hallways, whatever it took to keep their water jugs. But alas, most of the jugs had been confiscated. So the students start taking to social media. Tons of tweets and mentions are going out to local news stations, DMZ, Oprah, Ellen, you name it. They got mentioned. All of these messages are going out along the lines of school is confiscating all water, not allowing students to drink water, hashtag high school drought 2KXX, hashtag we're dying, hashtag send help. You get the picture. Before the end of the day, 2 different news reporters were at our school. Guess we had the last laugh after all. Introverts. How did you meet your girlfriend? She came over to me in a coffee shop while she was on vacation in my country, to ask how to tip. We had a 2-hour conversation, and then an amazing 5-hour lunch 2 days later. She complained about her hostel and I offered her my spare bedroom. She accepted. Nothing happened, although it seems crystal clear in retrospect that we were falling for each other. I didn't want to be douchey and make her feel uncomfortable under my roof, so putting the moves on her was not something I seriously considered. 2 nights later, I had to be gone for most of the night on a work assignment, and I asked if she would please watch and walk my dog in my absence. I came home at 5 a.m. and was greeted by my suddenly very soft, very fluffy dog. She had somehow understood "will you please wash my dog" and apparently didn't find that a strange request at all. The next evening, after we'd been talking over a bottle of wine for hours, it seems she'd had enough of my apparent indecisiveness, took the wine glass out of my hand, put it down, and leaned in for a kiss. That was 26 years ago. We've been married 23 years. What is an obvious sign of depression but people ignore it unknowingly? When I was at the first appointment with my former therapist, she started with the dreaded, "So, what brings you in here?" question. My answer was a discombobulated jumble of vague statements, one thought half finished before leading to the next. I could barely keep eye contact because of the shame, so I was talking mostly to my knees. Finally I broke for a moment to try to gather my thoughts, and my therapist hit me with this: "Do you sit down in the shower?" She may as well have blown an air horn. I don't remember how long I stared at her like she's some demon before answering in the affirmative. I remember she looked a little satisfied, like she was glad she'd gotten that one right, before her expression disappeared. It wasn't something that pinged my radar because I'd loved long, hot showers my whole life, but sitting during the shower was a relatively recent development at the time, and I only started because I wanted to stay in the shower with the hot, noisy water pounding on my head until it got cold, and standing was too much effort. Still, her educated guess both shook me and made me feel seen, in a way my previous therapist never accomplished. What is a scam not many people notice? Funerals. People often want to buy more expensive coffins to honor their loved ones, and in turn the companies selling them profit. Beware of pickpockets signs in touristy areas. It triggers an individual to reflexively check their pockets, allowing observant pickpockets to know where your wallet is. Toilet paper rolls decreasing in width every year. Same cost but you get less paper. Shrinkflation. Every company does this. It's a tried and true method as it's mostly psychology. A person won't realize the product is slightly smaller. They will realize if the price goes from $9.99 to $10.99. Amount of toothpaste. The amount in advertisements is misguiding. It's too much, therefore more consumption and in turn more sales. A pea-size amount should do the job. Men of Reddit. What do women do that they think is okay but is actually creepy? Not exclusively a woman thing, but my ex would screenshot our text conversations and send them to her family and friends for reaction. Like mundane conversations, not even anything interesting. It felt like a very creepy violation of my privacy. Also, she was an idiot. Hope you see this, Laura. This is only really for the gay men out there, I think. But having a girl instantly label you as her gay best friend as soon as she finds out you're gay, like, B, I don't even like you. Maintain a relationship with her mom even after the breakup. I have a friend that whenever she starts dating a guy, just lists me off thing about the dude like she's listing a resume. Never anything about the personality or sense of humor or what characteristics about them she enjoys. It's job, career, college, earnings, house. I had to tell her it was getting creepy because it just sounds like she's getting a checklist to impress people, not find a good person for her. You have to install this GPS tracking app on your phone so I know where you are anytime I want to check. That's something effed up you witnessed as a child that you were oblivious to until you grew up. A clown came to my birthday party. I was 2 and the clown pulled out what us kids thought was a water gun, but it was a real gun. He proceeded to take all the mom's watches and purses and left. This was in Mexico. When I was 3 I was separated from my mom in the grocery store. Some random lady took my hand and began to walk me out of the store. I was too little to think anything of it. My mom stopped her at the door and said, "Excuse me, that's not your child." Suddenly the lady was gone and our day proceeded. Wasn't till I was a grown-up that I realized I was almost kidnapped. My brother maintained it was normal to have cereal with water instead of milk and that it was way better. I ate cereal with water like an idiot until I was about 16. My parents accidentally running over the family cat with their car. I even saw what was left of the poor thing and didn't think much of it besides, "Oh, that's not good." Teachers of Reddit. What is the most depressing thing your kids have said? Student. Mary won't be here today. Her mom died last night. Me. Wait, didn't her dad pass away a few weeks ago? Student. Yes. Both parents died suddenly within a few weeks of each other from different medical conditions. 5-year-old preschool girl with 103-degree fever, sicker than sick. She begs the nurse, "Please don't send me home." She was allowed to sleep in the nurse's office until the end of the day. That was about 2.5 years ago. A few months later she was removed by CPS and has been with a foster family, me, for nearly 2 years now. Not a teacher, but a counselor for kids in the foster program. Kid, why does everyone else in my class have one dad but I have different ones all the time? Foster program can be really tough on kids. Assignment was to write a poem about something you like to pretend. Student's poem started, "I like to pretend that I had friends." This was in 1st grade.